Welcome. This channel brings you daily motivation and uplifting sermons. Subscribe now. And together let's reach 1,000 subscribers while building a positive, inspiring community. The auditorium was packed, yet you could hear a pin drop as Denzel Washington took the stage. He wasn't in a rush. He didn't need to be. The weight of his presence did all the work. He scanned the crowd, paused, and then his voice cut through the silence. "Let me start by being honest with you," he said. "You can't keep living the way you're living and expect something to change. I don't care who you are, what you've done, or what you think you're going to do tomorrow. Right now, today, you're stuck. And until you stop the nonsense, until you stop being stupid, you're going to stay stuck." The crowd shifted uncomfortably, some crossing their arms, others sitting up straighter. He wasn't there to sugarcoat anything. And he wasn't talking about intelligence. No, stupid wasn't about IQ. It was about making the same bad decisions over and over. It was about wasting time and potential, and then wondering why life wasn't going your way. "I'll tell you a story," Denzel said, pacing a little. "There was a kid I grew up with. We'll call him Marcus. Marcus was bright, man, sharp as a tack. But every time he got close to something good, he'd mess it up. He'd skip practice, slack off in school, get caught up with the wrong crowd. And when things didn't go his way, what did he do? He pointed fingers. The coach doesn't like me. The teacher's out to get me. My neighborhood is holding me back. Excuses, excuses, excuses." Denzel stopped pacing and looked right at the crowd. "Now here's the truth. The problem wasn't the coach, the teacher, or the neighborhood. The problem was Marcus. He had the talent, but he was too stupid to use it." The air grew heavier, the words sinking into the crowd like stones into water. Denzel didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His calm intensity made every word hit harder. "I don't mean he was dumb," he said, softening just slightly. "He was foolish. He was careless. He kept playing the same old games, expecting different results. You see, that's what being stupid is. It's doing the same thing over and over and thinking one day it'll work out. But it never does it?" A murmur rippled through the audience. Heads nodded. People were thinking about their own Marcus moments, those times when they'd let fear, laziness, or pride get in the way. They knew what Denzel was talking about. They'd been there. And then one day, Denzel continued, Marcus hit rock bottom. He flunked out of school. He lost his spot on the team. And he ended up working a dead-end job that didn't even come close to what he was capable of. One night, an old mentor of his found him sitting on a stoop, looking like the weight of the world had crushed him. The mentor looked him in the eye and said, "Son, you're wasting your gift. You're better than this, but you're too stupid to realize it. It's time to wake up." The crowd sat motionless, hanging on every word. That, Denzel said, was Marcus's turning point. The moment he stopped pretending the world owed him something. The moment he stopped blaming everyone else. The moment he looked in the mirror and said, "It's me. I'm the one who needs to change." Denzel paused, letting the silence sink in. And that's where it starts, folks. With you. with one moment of honesty, with one decision to stop being stupid. Denzel's voice echoed through the stillness. "You've got to face the facts," he said, his tone serious but not unkind. "It's easy to tell yourself little lies. Oh, it's just a phase. Or next year will be my year." But those lies pile up. They become walls, and before you know it, you're boxed in, stuck in a rut, and you can't even see a way out. That's not bad luck. That's self-sabotage. He took a few steps across the stage. The rhythm of his words measured, deliberate. Marcus was full of excuses. He'd blame the system. He'd blame his family. He'd even blame his friends. But when you keep blaming the world for your problems, you're giving away your power. You're saying, "I can't change because it's someone else's fault." Well, that's a lie. You can change if you're willing to get honest. The story of Marcus took a turn after losing his scholarship and watching his friends move on without him. Marcus spent months doing nothing. He felt like a failure, but instead of confronting that feeling, he buried it under hours of TV, endless video games, and late nights scrolling through social media. On the outside, he looked calm. On the inside, he was crumbling. One day, his mother sat him down at the kitchen table. She didn't yell. She didn't lecture. She just placed her hand on his and said, "I know you're hurting. I know you're frustrated. But, baby, when are you going to stop hiding from yourself? When are you going to stop pretending this isn't happening? Because until you face it, nothing will change." Denzel's voice grew quieter, drawing the audience closer. Marcus didn't have an answer for her. He just sat there, staring at the table, unable to meet her eyes. For the first time, he felt the weight of his own decisions, the distractions, the denial, the wasted time, all of it. That was his reality check. That's when it hit him. The problem wasn't the world. The problem was him. The energy in the room shifted. People in the audience were thinking about their own kitchen table moments, the times when they'd looked around at their lives and felt that gnawing sense of discontent. Denzel didn't give them an easy out. "Listen to me," he said. "Life doesn't owe you a wake-up call. You have to wake yourself up. No one's going to come along and rescue you. No one's going to hand you the life you want. You have to face your reality, own it, and then decide to change." Denzel paused, letting the silence speak for itself. Then he added, when Marcus finally admitted that he'd been his own worst enemy, that's when he saw the path forward. It wasn't easy. It wasn't quick. But it was real. And that's what you need. You need real. You need the truth. And most of all, you need the courage to stop being stupid and start being smart about your life. "Here's what you've got to understand," Denzel said, his voice a steady rhythm. "Change doesn't come with fireworks. There's no parade, no cheering crowd when you take that first step. It's just you, alone, deciding you're tired of being the person who makes excuses, the person who lets life happen to them." That's what Marcus finally understood. If he wanted a different life, he had to earn it every single day. Denzel painted a vivid picture. Marcus, once so caught up in his own cycle of failure, started small. The first morning he forced himself out of bed earlier than usual, The sunlight felt unfamiliar. He put on his old running shoes not because he was ready for some grand transformation, but because he knew he needed to start moving. He ran just a block that first day, chest heaving and legs burning. It didn't feel triumphant. It felt painful, awkward, even embarrassing. But when he came back home and looked in the mirror, he saw something he hadn't seen before: effort. Not a result, not a success, but the beginning of something real. "Let me tell you something," Denzel said. "That first block, that was the hardest distance Marcus would ever cover. The hardest part of change isn't when you're halfway there. It's when you're just getting started, when it feels pointless, when no one notices, when you're still carrying all your old doubts, fears, and bad habits. But every day, you run that block. You wake up, you show up, and little by little, you start to prove to yourself that you can." Marcus didn't become a different man overnight. The breakthroughs weren't dramatic. He began reading every morning, just a few pages of a book that would teach him something new. He wrote down goals, not lofty, unreachable dreams, but small, clear objectives he could accomplish that week. Each time he checked one off, it was another quiet victory. He stopped answering every text, quit wasting hours online, and started saying no to the people and activities that didn't align with his vision. Denzel paused, his tone softening just a touch. "Here's the truth about breakthroughs. They're messy, they're slow, they don't come all at once. But if you stick with it, if you keep taking those small steps, one day you look around and realize you're not in the same place anymore. You're stronger, you're smarter, you've stopped being stupid with your time, your choices, your energy." Marcus started to feel a shift, not a tidal wave, but a subtle, steady current pulling him forward. When he faced challenges, losing out on a job, falling short of a goal, he didn't crumble. Instead, he adjusted, learned, and tried again. He wasn't waiting for things to magically get better. He was making them better, one hard, honest step at a time. "Do you see it?" Denzel asked the audience, leaning in slightly. "The breakthrough isn't the big moment. It's all the little ones. It's when you choose the harder path, not because you have to, but because you know it's right. It's when you say, 'I'm going to stop being stupid and start building something real.' Even if no one's watching, even if no one's cheering, even if it takes a long, long time. That's the breakthrough." By the time Marcus turned the corner, the man staring back at him in the mirror wasn't the same person who had started the journey. His shoulders sat differently, still carrying weight, but not the burden of excuses. His eyes had the look of someone who had been through the storm and come out on the other side, still standing. It hadn't been easy, not by a long shot. The path was filled with early mornings, late nights, and countless moments of doubt. But now, he wasn't afraid of effort. He wasn't running from challenges. He wasn't wasting his time on things that didn't matter. He'd learned how to fight smart. When Denzel spoke to the audience, his voice carried the conviction of someone who'd walked the walk. The greatest thing you can do is change the way you think. I'm not talking about reading motivational quotes or hyping yourself up. I'm talking about building a mindset that doesn't crumble when the world pushes back. A mindset that's ready to do the hard work, day in and day out. Because you know that's what it takes. He looked out at the audience, a calm intensity in his gaze. Marcus stopped blaming everyone else. He stopped chasing quick fixes. He learned to own every single decision he made. And that's the key, ownership. He realized that nobody was coming to save him, and nobody needed to. He had everything he needed already. He just had to stop squandering it. Marcus wasn't perfect, no one is. He still had moments when he stumbled, but when he did, he didn't let it spiral out of control. Instead, he paused, reflected, and made a smarter choice. Over time, his bad days became fewer and farther between. The setbacks didn't break him anymore. They taught him. Each lesson became a building block, another step on a staircase that led to a version of himself he never thought possible. Denzel shifted his tone, almost as if he were speaking directly to each person in the room. So now the question isn't if you can change. The question is, are you willing to stop being stupid about your life? Are you ready to stop playing games, making excuses, and waiting for some magical moment to fix everything? The magical moment doesn't exist. What does exist is this moment right here, right now. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is the decision to go after it. Not next week, not tomorrow. Today, Marcus's life didn't become some fairy tale, but it became his. It became something he was proud of. He learned how to take pride in the process, not just the results. He knew that success wasn't about arriving at some distant destination. It was about living every day with purpose, clarity, and determination. Denzel paused before his final words. When you change your mindset, everything changes. You stop waiting for permission. You stop fearing failure. You stop wasting time. You stop being stupid. And when that happens, you don't just live, you thrive.